Hi y'all, bonjour, hola, my name is Trish. If you're new, welcome. So guys, I've been hearing all the buzzing on the community tab and I do hear you. So what I'm going to do for this tutorial is that I'm going to go ahead to do this one first, and towards the end of the week, I will go ahead and show you how I did the second flyer. So without much ado, let's get started. So guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that my canvas size is a 10 by 10. Now, the first thing we are going to do to set our background is to create a gradient effect. So we're going to go under our adjustment and I'm going to go ahead and choose gradient. This time we want to click on our gradient fill and we want to go under our purple. We want to choose something between the purple and the blue. I'm going for the deeper blue and the deeper pink. So I'm going to go ahead to click OK and OK. Now we want to change the angle. Notice that my style is on linear and my angle is somewhere between, like half and half on both sides. Now I'm going to go ahead to click OK. Now we want to go ahead and bring in our background. And guys, I will have a link to all of these resources so you can use in your practice tutorial. So I'm going to drag and drop this image in, and I'm sure you noticed this image. I used it in the previous flyer that we did. So I'm going to go ahead to rescale this, and I'm going to double click to accept. I'm going to just move it in a little. We want to go ahead and reduce the opacity. So click on that layer and just reduce the opacity so you sort of have this effect. It's not too much, but at the same time, you can see it. Now, the next thing that we want to do is to add a second gradient effect. So I'm going to click on my adjustment, add a gradient. Now, this time, we just want a solid to an opaque gradient. So I'm going to click on the gradient color, click on the color stop, and I'm going to change this and use the same deep blue that we had in the first one. Now I'm going to go ahead to click OK and OK. Now I'm going to go ahead to change the angle of this. I want it on the opposite side. Now I'm going to go ahead to click OK. But what we are going to do is we want to change the blend mode of this and set that to color burn. So we're going to pick up our type tool and we want our foreground and background to be set to the default black and white. Now you can go ahead and begin to type in your short form of birthday. Now I'm going to add in the bash and I'm going to use my move tool and I'm just going to increase it like that. Now you want to double click on your font and we want to change our font. We are choosing the ethnocentric font. Now this font is available on thefont.com, which is free. I will add the fonts that I used in the download resource so you can also use it, but you can get it free on thefont.com. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, Trish, how do I close up the gap? Now, you can double click on your font, go under your property. Now, if you don't see your property tab, you need to go under window and there you have your property and you can click on it. Now, under your property tab, you want to locate the A over A, which is the spacing between your font. And we can basically reduce it to set it the way that we want. So the next thing that we want to do is to add a gradient effect and an outer glow. So to do that, you want to click on the font layer. It will bring up the layer style. Now, the first thing we want to do is to add a drop shadow. I'm going to click on the style options so you can see exactly what I did. Now notice that the blend mode is on normal, but my color is almost in the cyan grayish color. Now my angle is at 90. I took my opacity down a little so that my shadow effect is not too strong. And you can see my distance spread is a little bit increased. My size is completely 0. And you can tell by the contour that I have chosen is a linear contour. Now, if you go to click on your outer glow, you can click on it. You can change the color first of all. I'm going to leave it on the purple. I have my blend mode on normal, but my spread is too much. So I'm going to reduce the size of the glow effect. So I think this is good enough. So I'm going to go ahead to click OK. Now with this said, we want to add or infuse a texture onto the font. So I'm going to go back to my resource and we want to drag these two layers in, and I'm going to double click to accept. Now I'm going to move this layer on top and I'm going to turn that off and put this one above and increase it like that. Double click to accept. Now, if you are new to Photoshop and you have an older version and you don't know how to activate the scale command, make sure your layer is selected, go under edit, go to transform and click on scale so you have your transform activation on. Now, if you have a newer version of Photoshop, click on your move tool and make sure your auto select and your show transform are all checked. This way, anytime you open Photoshop, those two will be checked, and anytime you bring in an image, you have the option of either scaling it or just accepting the size as is. So with this set, we want to go ahead and clip this image to the font. So I'm going to hold down options and I'm going to clip it. Now with this set, I don't even need the second image to add, because if I infuse that, you notice it's giving me a whole different effect. So I'm actually going to delete this one and only keep the first metallic texture. We are going to add a lens flare effect to spice up our font. So going back to the resource, you want to click on your lens flare, double click or increase the scale like that. Now I know you're asking, Trish, where can I get this lens flare effect? All you have to do is go on Google, just type in lens flare image and you will see similar images like these with a black background. Now obviously we don't want the black to show, so you want to make sure you click on your layer and you want to change the blend mode to screen. Now make sure that this layer is at the very top. And guys, one thing that you should be in the habit of doing is that whenever you bring in a layer and you are satisfied with the location, you want to be in the habit of locking those layers. So you can click on the padlock, it will lock it. Click on your backgrounds and also lock those so that your backgrounds don't move while you're trying to move other elements within your design. So once we have this, we are going to set this right there. And we want to add a layer mask, because if you notice, you can still see the outline of our image. We don't want that. So pick up your brush tool with your foreground as black. We know that black hides, white reveals when working with layer masks. Now we want to hide the edges, so you can just paint it slightly. You don't have to do it all the way around. Now we want to make a copy of this lens flare. Command J, make a copy, move that layer to the top, or you can set it right there, or you can even set it on the bottom. Whichever you choose is fine. With the layer mask still selected, pick up your brush tool and make sure that the opposite side is also cleaned up. So with this set, we want to go ahead and add in the rest of the theme on the bottom of our flyer. So you want to go back and pick up your type tool, and we are going to go ahead to type in the word party and use your move tool, scale it. And I'm going to double click on it, highlight it, and we are going to change this font to App Nice. And this font is also available in the link for you to download. Okay, you're welcome. So I'm going to go ahead to scale it like that, and we are going to set it like so. So with this set, we are going to double click on our font, and we want to change the font color. So we're going to choose something within the cyan, almost like a greenish, bluish, and we are going to go ahead to click OK. So with this set, we want to go ahead and bring in a textured image that we will infuse to the font. So click on your texture image, drop that in, drop or move that layer to the bottom like that. We want to clip that image to the font. So hold down Options and clip that just like that. Now we want to change the blend mode of this layer, and we are going to use the color burn. So you get a very nice effect. Now I'm going to double click on my font. So we're going to change the blend mode to hard light. So we get a very nice effect. The next thing we want to do is to add a glow effect to the font. So we are going to click on our birthday bash, and we are going to right click, and we are going to copy all the layer style. So go and select copy layer style, click back on your font layer, and we are going to go ahead to basically paste the layer style that we have. Now we like this effect, but we don't want the shadow showing up. So double click on your layer, it will bring up the layer style, take off the drop shadow. Now we want to click within our outer glow, and we want to increase our size and also our spread so it pops a little bit more. Now I'm going to go ahead to click OK. I'm going to go down to my gradient, and I'm going to change the angle a little so we have a little bit more of the blue on the other side, so I can really see my party showing on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead to click OK. I'm going to go ahead and move my image, my font above. Notice I have both my image and my font selected, so I can move both at the same time. Now we can right click, and we can even lock that layer so that whenever I move one, all of them moves together. So with this set, we want to go ahead and we want to type in the word Friday. So pick up your font tool with your foreground and background set to default. We are going to type in Friday. You want to highlight, and you want to change this font to the Charlie Sebastian, and I'm going to go ahead to rescale it and set that right there. I'm going to reduce it a little, and I'm going to double click. Now I want to add the same effect as the party glow. So click on your layer, right click, and you want to go ahead and choose copy layer style. Now click on your Friday, right click, and you want to go ahead and paste the layer style. So I'm going to pick up my shape tool, my rectangle, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle like that at the top. And I'm going to go under my property in my fill slot. I want to choose and I'm going to go ahead to make sure that my stroke effect is empty. And I'm going to come out of this, pick up my move tool, and set this in place just like that. So with this set, we want to go ahead and pick up our type tool, and I'm going to go ahead and change my font. I'm using the Century Gothic, and I'm going to go ahead and set my style to bold, and I'm going to go ahead and type in scale this to what I want, double click and move that and set that right there. And I'm going to double click on my color for the shade, and I'm just going to change it to the pink. And we are going to go ahead and click on the shape, reduce the opacity just a little. The last thing we want to do is to make that shape glow. So right click on the shape and go ahead and paste the glow effect. Now, if it's too much, you can double click on it, come back into your glow, and we can go ahead and reduce it. Click OK, hold down your shift, and you can rescale your shape so it fits within your font or your text. So with this set, we want to go ahead and type in the date as well as the time of the event. So go ahead and pick up your type tool, and we are going to type in November and hit enter and add in your dates. Now, once you have it, we want to make it a little big and set it right there. Now, I'm just going to highlight the 25, go under your property, and you can go ahead and increase just your 25, go under your A over A to decrease or open up the spacing. Now we have something like this. Obviously it's too big, we can reduce it, and there you go. Now if you want to add a glow effect, it's the same thing. Right click on your layer, and we are going to go ahead to paste the glow effect. Now we have something like this. Now we want to go ahead and add in the time. So I'm going to make a copy, Command J, move this down, and I'm going to type in 7. I'm going to highlight and change the font to the B-Bus. And y'all know I use the B-Bus a lot. So we are going to double click, and I'm going to go ahead and set that on the bottom. We want to make a copy, Command J, make a copy, move that out. I want to select both fonts, hold down Shift and select the other one. And we are going to go ahead to link both. We want to go ahead and bring in our subject layer, my resource, and I'm going to drag and drop this image in. What we want to do right now is to take off the background. Now, somebody asked me how to take off the background the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to use that route so that if you don't have a newer version of Photoshop, that can help you. So you want to click on your image, go under your quick action, which is the 4th tool. You want to click on quick selection tool and click on select subject. Once you do that, Photoshop does well to make a selection for you. Now, when you zoom in, you notice that there are still some few imperfections. So you want to make sure you click on the add to selection, and with your mouse, you can go ahead and add these areas as well as the glasses, you can see, and we can even go ahead and also add in his shirt, the areas that need to be added. So you can zoom out and just make sure that all of these areas have been selected. Now, if you go beyond the selection, you can click on the subtract, and you can go ahead and basically deselect other areas that you don't want to add. So I'm just going to add that as well. And I think that we are good. So once you have your selection, you can click on the layer mask. You want to click on our image layer, and we want to set our image layer below our text. So let's drag and drop this and see where it falls. So we are going to set that right there. So notice that my image layer is in between my top text and my bottom text. So I have something like this, which looks really good. Now, with this all set, we want to go ahead and add in, obviously, the location of this event. So you want to click on your font tool, we are going to go ahead and use our Gothic Century. So once you have your address all set, you can go ahead and move your text, set that on the bottom. Now with your VA, you can increase your font and you can set it in place just like that. You can double click on it and you can reduce the font style. We can make it regular. Now, I'm sure you will say, Trish, we really can't see the information on the bottom, and I get you, I understand. So you want to click on your image once again, click on the image layer itself, and you want to go ahead and flip your foreground to black. So click on your image, it will tell you to first of all convert this to a rasterized image. Now with your brush, you want to go ahead and paint just the bottom of your subject. Now we want to go ahead and add a glow effect to both fonts on the bottom. So right click on that layer and then go and add your glow effect. Double click on the layer if it's too much, and we can go ahead and basically reduce it so it's not too much. I'm going to go ahead to click OK. So guys, once you have this all set, now we want to also add a glow effect around our subject. So I'm going to click on my subject layer and we are going to right click and apply layer mask. Now we want to right click on that layer and basically paste the layer style of the glow effect. If you like this effect, you can stick with it. I feel that it's just a little bit too much. So we want to double click on that layer and we want to click on our glow. You can even decrease the opacity of that so it's not too much, or you can even change the color to white, which is what I am going to do. Now I'm going to go ahead to click OK and OK. Now this is looking really, really nice. Next thing we want to do is to add a color lookup. So you want to click on the very top of your image, click on the music layer, go to your adjustment and add a color lookup. Go under your property and you want to change the setting to Fuji Internal. Now you notice that with just that one click, you can see the before, which is a little bit washed out, and the after, all the colors, and it gives it a nice effect. Now we can take it a step further by adding the camera raw effect. So to do that, you want to make sure you have your top layer selected, click on Shift Option Command E to make one file. Now with this set, you need to go under filter, choose camera raw filter, and this is where you can play with your temperature to make it a little bit lighter, and also your contrast. It already has the blacks and the contrast, so the contrast option here doesn't do much, but you can increase your vibrance, you can increase your saturation as well, just to add a little bit more punch. And we can go ahead to click OK. So look at the difference and look. So this is where we started, a little bit washed out. With the color lookup, it added some punch. Now with the camera raw effect, it basically finishes it off for you with a wow effect. I hope that this tutorial was very helpful. I will do another tutorial where I show you how I did the other one. I don't want to give away too much, okay? So please like this video, share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, share your final product with me on Instagram so I can see your progression. Bye, y'all.